Many people in today's society know or are familiar with World War II. The problem is, though, that everyone's thoughts about the war are surrounding the Holocaust. So we wanted to analyze the world's attention surrounding World War II and why it is so focused on genocides, just as the Holocaust, and not other genocides like the Nanking Massacre. So we asked people questions about the Holocaust to see their knowledge, and then questions about the Nanking Massacre to compare their knowledge on the two.
Alright, so what was Hitler's motive for executing all of the Jews during the Holocaust?
I believe that he just wanted to root them out, that he should make them listen.
How about during the Nanking Massacre? Do you know why they were moved out? The Nanking Massacre?
Japan, just like Germany, needed land for their growing population, so pushing the Chinese people out of their land seemed like a great idea. Some Japanese historians continue to consider the Nanking Massacre as propaganda on part of the Chinese Communist Party.
Hello, guys. Are you familiar with the Holocaust? Yeah. Do you know who is responsible for it? Hitler. Hitler. That's right. And do you know about the Nanking Massacre? No, what's that? No idea.
The Nanking Massacre was an episode of mass murders and rapes committed by the Japanese troops against the residents of Nanking.
No. So Carol, do you know much about the Holocaust and who was targeted during the Holocaust? And do you know much about the Nanking Massacre? Have you ever heard of it? Never. We had many people asking why the Nanking Massacre occurred. What was the reason for why these soldiers thought it would be okay to do these things to these people? So obviously we know it was a combination of many different reasons, and there's not really a way to pinpoint the sole reason for this. But one of the possibilities as to why this occurred was that the Japanese soldiers had very poor authority, and they were able to do whatever they wanted. They were completely out of control, raping, starving, beating these people, and there was no one to tell them that this wasn't okay, this is not what you're supposed to do, because they were under the impression that as long as you conquer Nanking, this is all okay. It doesn't matter. As long as they were getting what they wanted, they were keeping their soldiers safe, they were winning the war, it was all okay to them.
Alright, George, so you know what the Holocaust is, right?
Yeah, it's when the Germans put the Jews in concentration camps and gas chambers and crematoriums.
Alright, and do you know how the crimes were committed in Nanking?
Burger King? I love Burger King.
No, we're talking about Nanking here, where the civilians were raped, slaughtered, murdered.
Burger King?
So another possibility that could have triggered the rape of Nanking was that the Chinese soldiers defended very fiercely against the Japanese when they tried to take over China. Obviously, any country would try and defend themselves when they were being attacked. And the Japanese, they thought this was going to be an easy fight and they would not have to really worry about many casualties, but that really didn't go as planned. And when the head commander gave orders for the Japanese soldiers to go into the capital, the Chinese soldiers living in Nanking were aware that the Japanese were trying to conquer, however they didn't know that they were coming to Nanking also. So when the Japanese stepped into Nanking, they were ordered to captive anyone who looked like a Chinese soldier. So in their eyes, that's everyone. And at that point, the Chinese soldiers and the Chinese civilians who were there were under the impression that their thinking was men who allowed themselves to be taken prisoner did not have the right to be treated as men. So the Chinese soldiers thought that if they gave up easily, that the Japanese were able to do this to them, that this was all considered okay. So that led to the Chinese soldiers fighting back and the Chinese civilians fighting back against these Japanese soldiers, which just ended in more inhumane, more rape, more starving, and all in all, there was no way for the Chinese people to defend themselves against this. There was nothing they could do.
So you're familiar with the time period of the Holocaust?
Yes, I am. Around the 1940s, right?
Yeah. What about the Nanking Massacre in Japan?
Not at all.
Oh, so that was 1937 and 1938.
Good to know.
If you compare the drive behind the Holocaust and Nanking, you will notice that the Holocaust was an issue of purposeful policy where Hitler blamed the Jews for Germany's World War I loss. However, the Nanking Massacre was in Japan's best interest of winning the Sino-Japanese War, where the Chinese were exterminated from Nanking. The Holocaust targeted the Jews because Hitler believed that they were at fault for the World War I loss after the Treaty of Versailles. So why is the Holocaust so popular compared to the Nanking Massacre? I believe that the Holocaust got its popularity because the Holocaust consisted of exterminating certain races to keep Germany pure and only consists of the Aryan race, which is the pure German race. When the Nanking Massacre was an act of precautionary measures taken by the Japanese to keep their enemies out of Nanking, which is the Chinese. The fact that the Holocaust took place during World War II and most of the world was involved in trying to put an end to it was the cause of its fame. I think that the setting of Nanking and the fact that it was a conflict, that the countries involved were none besides China and Japan, leads to our survey being so one-sided.
So as you realized, every person we surveyed had no idea about the Nanking Massacre, but knew everything about the Holocaust. This could be due to the fact that we are very educated in school about the Holocaust, but have never been taught about the Nanking Massacre.
I believe that the people in our survey knew about the Holocaust and not Nanking because the people we interviewed are from the US and the US is involved in stopping the Holocaust. If the survey was taken in Japan, it would consist of very different results because they experienced the Nanking Massacre firsthand from their ancestors. Also, it is important to consider that Nanking could be boiled down to war efforts when the Holocaust was an effort to exterminate all different races besides Aryan in Germany.